The Aegis Sentinel drifted through the blackness beyond Neptune's orbit, its hull panels glinting with the reflected glow of distant stars. On the bridge, Commander Alina Reyes stood rigidly before the main viewport, arms folded, eyes narrowing at the infinite expanse. Every mission since the founding of the Earth Defense Coalition had carried its own threat: asteroid strikes, rogue AI swarms, the skirmishes with the Draken Syndicate, but nothing had prepared her for the anomaly now flashing on the tactical console. At exactly 3:14 UTC on July 22, 2075, the sensor ray had registered the pulse, a single, impossibly powerful burst of graviton waves. The data feed tinted the screens with rippling distortions, as if gravity itself had been bent around an unseen finger. Lieutenant Mira Kano, the bridge's chief sensor officer, stared at the readouts with widening eyes. "Commander," Kano murmured, voice tight, "we're seeing a massive energy discharge, no signature of conventional propulsion or weaponry. Graviton flux, at least 10 terajoules, and the origin vector places it just past the Oort cloud's outer boundary." Reyes exhaled slowly. She had been in command of the Aegis Sentinel for 3 years, overseeing patrols through the Kuiper Belt, escort missions to the Martian colonies, top-secret runs into the Kuiper-Perlanus demilitarized zone. Yet this was different. Against all known species, the Earth defense grid was considered impregnable. The 3 orbital platforms Olympus, Erebus, and Hearthguard together formed a lattice so dense that no threat could slip through unobserved. The Coalition's light-years-spanning network of sensor ships and fast-response fighters was legendary. To be challenged so brazenly felt like a gauntlet thrown at Earth's very feet. Reyes turned to Captain Desmond Farr, her executive officer. His normally stoic face was alight with concern. "Options?" Farr paused, thumb hovering over a holo control. "We could dispatch the Helix probe drones, 6 drones, with extended-range gravimetric scanners. They'll gather spectral data, but at that distance, round-trip transmission will take 18 hours. By then, if it's hostile, it may already be upon us. And if we send a manned scout," Reyes countered, "Eagle-class fighters can make the journey in half the time, though at risk to the pilots if things go south." Below deck, the fighter pilots were already suiting up. Reyes glanced at the roster. Gethin Riaz, the Kali Delta ace known for his unorthodox maneuvers. Lieutenant Sarah Blitz Nguyen, legendary for breaking every record in the simulated combat theaters. And veteran wingman Andre Duval, whose steady hands had saved them on more than one scrap with Perlanus hunters. "Sir," Kano interrupted, "we have incoming data." The pulse contained embedded code: no audio, no image, but a binary sequence. "My decryptors are running." The room held its breath. On the main holoscreen, lines of green text cascaded until, with a final ping, they froze open. Mock Earth's defense? One shot was all it took to break them. Reyes felt a chill creep beneath her uniform. The message was tersely taunting, delivered with such clarity that no translation or interpretation was needed. Whoever sent it, Perlanus, pirates, or some unknown third faction, knew Earth's defenses intimately, understood their vulnerabilities. "Location of transmission locked?" she asked, voice steady. Kano keyed in the command. "Yes, Commander. Bearing 356.4, range 0.37 light-years. Beyond the Oort boundary. No signatures of conventional habitation. No active life forms detected on any active bands. It's," her voice cracked, "it's as if we're staring into the abyss." Reyes nodded. "Initiate immediate departure. Have the fighters launch 50 minutes from now. In the meantime, run cross-checks on every recorded Perlanus graviton event. Print me a full tactical dossier within 20. She paused, eyes drifting back to the holo screen. "And inform Earth Command. This is no drill." In the command corridors of the Aegis Sentinel, corridors hummed with readiness. The air thrummed as power couplings were tested, as tactical teams ran simulations in virtual reality pods. Engineers scurried between diagnostics consoles, recalibrating thruster outputs for maximum delta V. Each crew member understood the gravity of the situation. They were poised at the edge of dark space, about to probe what might be an ambush, an exercise in cosmic humiliation. Commander Reyes retreated briefly to her ready room, a small, private, sanctum lined with relics of past campaigns. A framed photo rested on her desk, herself and her crew, aboard the Sentinel when they first crossed Pluto's orbit as a combined force. The faces smiled back, full of youthful hope. She reached out, fingertips brushing the glass. Earth had rebuilt itself from wars and calamities, nuclear winters, the Great AI Rebellion, the year-long siege of Luna City, but each time it had risen stronger. The Coalition's founding charter promised peace, but the galaxy had never been peaceful. Her personal console chimed, a secure link from Admiral Rillan Crassus, Supreme Coordinator of the Defense Coalition. Reyes tapped the holoplate. Alina. Crassus's visage appeared, eyes deep set with tired lines. You received the pulse. I have, sir. We're en route to the vector. Crassus's tone was grim. Be advised, High Command suspects this may be a demonstration, something more elaborate than a simple test. Our intel on the Draken Syndicate suggests they recently acquired an unknown artifact from the fallen Empire's salvage fields. We believed it to be a relic, but reports from our deep recon suggest graviton-based weaponization. If the Syndicate has weaponized it, I'd rather not contemplate the ramifications. Reyes' jaw clenched. The fallen Empire's civilizations that had once spanned galaxies, now little more than myth and debris fields, had been studied for centuries. Their technologies were prized by opportunists, but to harness graviton manipulation to that degree. Understood, sir. I'll proceed with caution. The fighters will rendezvous at grid point Echo 9 in 40. Good luck, Commander. Earth is watching. The link closed. Reyes exhaled, sliding the recoil of the conversation out of her chest. The stakes had been raised beyond planetary defense. Now it was frontier combat at the edge of known space. The launch bay doors parted with a hiss as Gethan Riaz's nimble fighter, Spitfire, sprinted down the magnetic rails. Beside him, Blitz's Tempest and Duval's Vanguard slipped free in perfect formation. Commander Reyes watched them ascend through the bay viewport, their star-silhouetted silhouettes swallowed by the void. On the bridge, she gave the order. Helmsman, take us to grid point Echo 9. Maximum sustainable thrust. Tactical. Maintain shields at standby and accelerate sensor sweeps. I want eyes on that vector a minimum of 6 hours before the fighters arrive. Course plotted. The helmsman replied. Estimated transit, 18.4 hours at current burn. Reyes nodded. Time was a precious commodity. She turned back to the holo display, eyes scanning clusters of star charts and projected grid overlays. The message mock Earth's defense. One shot was all it took to break them. Haunted her. It was more than a threat. It was a verdict, a dare. She tapped a command. Across the bridge, a three-dimensional map blossomed, centered on the elusive Ort boundary. Points flickered where Coalition sensor ships maintained silent vigil. Reyes overlaid them with deep space survey buoys and gravitational lensing probes. Was this a trap, a lure? The moment of truth would come soon enough. Commander, Kano said softly, I recommend deploying to stealth buoys at the grid's periphery. If another shot comes, we'll at least triangulate its true point of origin. Reyes allowed a small, grim smile. Do it, and have the linguistics team start dissecting that code. There may be hidden metadata, something that tells us who we're really dealing with. As the bridge crew set to work, the Aegis Sentinel pressed onward into the dark frontier. Above, the void seemed to watch in silence, an endless canvas waiting to be shattered. In that silence, the single pulse still echoed, a haunting refrain of challenge and dread. The question hung in the starlight. Who dared mock Earth's defenses? And were they prepared for the answer that was coming? Tomorrow, the void would speak again. And when it did, Commander Reyes vowed that humanity would be listening. The Aegis Sentinel's engines hummed through the blackness, carving a slender trail of ion exhaust toward the peril sector. In the fighter bay, Alina Reyes stood before a row of cryo coffins that housed the 3 Eagle-class fighters. Each coffin's lid was open, revealing the sleek, triangular fuselages of the Spitfire, Tempest, and Vanguard. The fighters looked like predator birds at rest, their wings folded against their sides. Graviton thrusters silent. Lieutenant Kano, Reyes said, turning back toward the sensor officer. Status on the stealth buoys. Deployed, Mira. Kano replied, tapping at her console. They'll drift at point-blank range of the transmission vector. If another pulse comes, we'll get an immediate bearing fix. Good, have them switch to passive gravimetric mode. No pings, just listening. Kano nodded. Done. On the holoscreen behind her, 3 neutrally colored spheres drifted into position. Ghost buoys against the ink of deep space. Reyes inhaled. Launch the fighters. Let's move. Within moments, Gethin Riaz's Spitfire peeled from its berth, followed by Blitz's Tempest and Duval's Vanguard. The fighters arced around the Sentinel's flank in perfect formation, laser-lit contrails. Trailing like comets, over the comm link, Gethin's voice crackled, light with excitement. Spitfire here, all systems nominal, ready to punch a hole in the void. Sentinel copies, Reyes replied. Keep tight formation until we reach the grid's periphery. Sensor sweep goes live in 10. The 3 fighters punched their afterburners in unison, accelerating beyond the Sentinel's slipstream, inside the Spitfire. Gethin peered through the front viewport at a field of distant stars, but there was nothing else. No asteroids, no dust clouds, only the weightless calm of the outer system. Feels like we're flying into a painting. Blitz quipped from her Tempest, her holographic avatar flickering on the shared cockpit feed. More like a trap, Duval replied. Voice low. Keep your eyes peeled and your reflexes sharper. 6 hours later, the fighters dropped out of quantum slipstream and realigned with the tiny sensor buoys. On the Aegis Sentinel, the bridge was tense. Alarms weren't blaring yet, but every console glowed with readiness. The 3 ghost buoys blinked, passive gravimetric sensors locked onto background fluctuations, awaiting the slightest disturbance. Mira Kano watched the data stream. Commander, we're detecting a cluster of macrostructures ahead. No thermal signature possibly shielded, yet they're massive. Scanners estimate diameter between 5 to 800 kilometers. Reyes leaned forward. Are they on the vector? Affirmative, Kano said. Plotting, yes. The buoys report simultaneous microlens distortions. Graviton lensing consistent with cloaking fields. Reyes's pulse quickened. Take us in. I want visual, but shields at minimum, no emissions. Helm, bring us to silent running 50,000 kilometers from the nearest structure. Aye, Commander. As the Sentinel drifted in, the moon-sized constructs resolved into focus. They were vast, geometric masses, polygons of obsidian metal, their facets catching pinpricks of starlight. Some resembled stacked tetrahedrons, others interlocking rings that defied Euclidean geometry. Each structure rested motionless against the void, like beached leviathans carved from black glass. Magnification 10, Reyes ordered, eyes fixed on the view screen. Let's see what lurks inside. On the main holoscreen, an image sharpened. Intricate patterns of circuit-like conduits etched across the surfaces, glowing with faint violet luminescence. Small docking bays yawned open, yet no ships lay within. It was as if these constructs were skeletons, grave monuments to unknown gods of war. They look dead, Duval whispered over the comm link. No signs of life, no power signatures. Beyond those conduits, ghost ships, Reyes murmured. But someone must be controlling them. A sudden spike rippled through the gravimetric buoys, a distortion like ripples on a pond. Buoy 1 registering a pulse, Kano announced. 10 terajoules, identical to the first transmission. The bridge lights dimmed as the Sentinel's power diverted to sensors. The holoscreen trembled with the signature, a coherent burst of graviton particles, collapsing spacetime momentarily. Seconds later, a single fighter indicator blinked out. Spitfire lost contact. Gethin's panicked tone crackled through. I've been hit, getting thrown around, can't maintain attitude control. Reyes's heart leapt. Evasive maneuvers. All ships, break formation, get clear. On the view screen, Gethin's Spitfire reeled violently as a spiral beam of concentrated gravity tore through its port wing. A shudder raced through the ship's hull before it spun out of control and vanished against the stars. Blitz's Tempest and Duval's Vanguard banked hard, firing afterburners to avoid the unknown threat. But the moonship nearest them shimmered, and in an instant, it phased out of visible space, displacing into a pocket dimension with a soft pop, leaving no trace. Commander, Kano said, voice grim, the threat vessel is unshielded now. It's at relative position 005 Mark 23. Launching visual. Reyes cut her off. Wait. Not yet. She tapped her comm badge. Blitz. Vanguard. Report status. Minor system faults from graviton backlash. Blitz reported. Shields at 30%. Damage controls working. Vanguard chimed in. All systems stable. But we can't get a missile lock. Target disappeared as soon as it fired. Reyes exhaled. Understood. Fighters, return to the Sentinel and dock immediately. Rig sensors for long-range tracking. Whatever fired that shot is cloaked to us, but we'll find it. Back on the bridge, Reyes and Kano pored over each gravimetric distortion, each spatial anomaly. They traced the path of the invisible dart, a slender vessel less than 20 meters long. Optimized for stealth and sniping, it had hunted them like a phantom. It's not Prolana's tech. Kano observed. Their ships rely on brute force. Gravitic wavefronts. This is precise, artisanal. Reyes nodded. And fast. Whatever cloak it uses jams our scans the moment it displaces. We have a ghost in the void. A soft chime sounded at Reyes' elbow. Captain Farr gestured toward his console. We just picked up a hailing beacon hyper-encoded. I've isolated. The frequency very familiar signature. Reyes' jaw tightened. Play it. Static hissed through the bridge speakers, then a calm, metallic voice emerged, distorted but unmistakable, carrying a mocking cadence. Did you miss us? We only warmed up the cannon. Chairs scraped as the bridge crew froze. The voice continued, cold amusement in its tone. That first shot was a courtesy. We prefer our guests to be amused before they die. The emblem of a black handprint over a crimson star flickered on the main holoscreen, brief but clear. The Draken Syndicate. Reyes felt a surge of indignation. The pirates had always been ruthless, but never so audacious. They've weaponized graviton cannons, she said quietly, and they've just announced it. Farr's fingers danced over his console. I'm patching the feed to Earth Command now. Kano added. Commander, the buoy network picked up 3 more constructs, forming up at high velocity, likely reaction vessels. They're moving to encircle the vector. Reyes rose. All stop, she ordered. Reactivate full shields. Bring every available sensor online. Prepare decoy drones laced with false gravimetric readings. We're not running, we're baiting. The bridge lights shifted to alert status. Engines spooled. The Aegis Sentinel rotated to face the incoming constellation of moonships. On the view screen, dozens of obsidian facets blinked into view, converging on the coordinate where the ghost dart had struck. Reyes' voice rang out, steel-edged. Let them come. We'll show them Earth's defense is no laughing matter. Beneath, the dread of impending battle, a singular thought drove her onward. This was no mere skirmish. It was a declaration of war, a challenge from ghosts of the void that threatened to unravel all humanity had built. And Alina Reyes, standing defiant on the bridge of the Aegis Sentinel, vowed that the Syndicate would learn exactly what it meant to face the united might of Earth. The Aegis Sentinel hung at the edge of the Peril Sector's gravimetric maelstrom, its shields flaring like iridescent seashells against the onslaught of Syndicate moonships. Beside it, the crippled hulks of 2 shattered orbital platforms drifted, aimlessly grim proof of the Draken cannon's one-shot lethality. Commander Reyes watched the chaos unfold on the tactical holoscreen, swirling debris, escaping plasma trails, and the silent approach of the Crimson Gauntlet, the Syndicate flagship. Framed by its raider escorts. In the ready room, Reyes assembled her most trusted officers. Captain Desmond Farr stood at the head of the table, flanked by Lieutenant Mira Kano and Chief Engineer Talsovic. Their faces were pale under the cold lead lights. We can't defeat that cannon from a distance, Reyes began. Our missiles burn out before their shields drop. Our railguns barely scratch their hull. The only way to neutralize it is inside the ship, disable or destroy the dark matter core. Sovic rapped his knuckles on the table. I've reviewed the schematics we salvaged from the last platform. The cannon's gravitic core is a constrained singularity, held in stasis rings. If the rings collapse, it will implode, taking the ship with it, which gives us minutes, maybe seconds, once we start the chain reaction, Kano added. And the gun is on the dorsal deck, heavily guarded by cyborg sentries and automated turrets. We'll need a distraction. Reyes nodded. That's where our diversion comes in. We've got 5 Omega-class assault shuttles outfitted with plasma charges. We'll send to and on false transponder codes, drawing the raider escorts away. Meanwhile, a stealth shuttle will dock with the Crimson Gauntlet's hull under the guise of a routine inspection. Our boarding party inside. Far's jaw tightened. Risky. The syndicate won't be fooled for long. But if it works, we get a 10-minute window before they realize what's happening. Within the hour, the plan moved into motion. In the hangar bay, the shuttle's matte black surfaces glinted under emergency lighting. Pilot Commander Hai Lin stood by the first Omega class, checking her plasma torpedoes. Beside her, Lieutenant Aaron Sayala ran simulations on the stealth shuttle's interface, deploying digital forgery scripts to mimic the Crimson Gauntlet's serial code. The boarding party 9 commandos from the Aegis's Shadow Trident unit cross-checked their gear. Graviton cutters, EMP grenades, and magnetic boots. Reyes stepped forward, laying a hand on Sayala's shoulder. You know what's at stake. Make it count. Sayala's dark eyes glittered. We'll give them something to talk about. 30 minutes later, the 2 Omega shuttles surged from the Aegis Sentinel's bay, engines coughing a plume of charged particles. On comm channels, they broadcast fracture calls. Distress beacon syndicate supply freighter under attack. Need immediate escort. True to plan, 3 raider frigates peeled away from the flagship, engines roaring as they raced to intercept. With the escorts diverted, the stealth shuttle slipped out behind the Sentinel. It radiated no heat, no subspace signature, a ghost on the sensors. Reyes watched it approach the Crimson Gauntlet's ventral docking clamp, its hull panels shimmering with active gravitic dampeners. On the bridge, Far flicked switches to replicate the flagship's internal comm codes. The docking clamps hummed and released. Docking complete. Sayala announced, voice barely a whisper. We're in. Reyes keyed her helmet mic. Boarding party, you're green. Reyes out. Inside the Crimson Gauntlet, corridors of burnished alloy curved away into darkness. Emergency lights glowed amber, painting long, trembling shadows. The commandos moved in single file, boots clanking against the magnetic floor. Their objective lay 3 decks above, the dorsal armament chamber, where the graviton cannon reposed like a sleeping titan. Lieutenant Kano crouched by a junction box, hacking the comm relay. I'm looping external scans. We'll have 7 minutes before they trace this shuttle's intrusion. Reyes nodded. Move. They ascended through service lifts, disabling optic sensors with the MP pulses. At level Delta 7, the corridor opened into a vast maintenance bay. Here, the cannon's prime reactors glowed in a lattice of cable conduits, each pulse of light attributing a silent heartbeat to the weapon. Guards hulking cyborgs with ocular implants spaced in pairs. Chief Engineer Sovic raised a gloved hand. There are your thermobaric disruptors. He handed out small canisters. Place them at the stasis ring housings. 3 per ring. Synchronized detonation. Reyes surveyed the chamber. The stasis rings were rayed around a spherical core, the size of a small moon, gravitational lenses refracting the red gleam of interest. The commandos fanned out, grenades secured by magnetic locks on their belts. Plant and move. Reyes ordered. 2 commandos darted forward, dropping to one knee and affixing the disruptors. Sparks flared as wiring jacks clicked home. Another pair guarded the exits, weapons trained on the cyborg sentries. Reyes and Kano joined Sovic at the far ring, their heads bent in concentration. Suddenly, klaxons blared an urgent, rasping wail that echoed like a war cry. A red light bathed the corridor as guards poured in, their mechanized limbs whirring. A fusillade of plasma rounds streaked across the bay. Now, Reyes shouted. Kano triggered the EMP pulse. The cyborgs convulsed as circuits overloaded, metal limbs locking mid-stride. Explosions rippled through the core chamber as the thermobaric charges detonated in synchronized harmony. The stasis rings fractured. Energies surged. Pressure building. A low hum rose to a scream. Retreat. Reyes barked. Back to the shuttle now. The boarding party raced through the bay as the cannon's core erupted. A wave of distorted light swept outward, pulverizing everything in its path. The shuttle's hull groaned under the subspace. Shockwave, shields flaring to meet the influx. They dove into the docking tube just as half the deck above peeled away in a blinding cascade. The shuttle rocketed free, its thrusters screaming as it fell back toward the Aegis Sentinel. Inside, the commandos watched through the viewport, hearts pounding. Outside, the Crimson Gauntlet shuddered violently, the cannon's explosion hollowed out a crater in its dorsal plating, ripping twisted beams into the void. The flagship lingered for a heartbeat. An iron Leviathan wounded beyond repair, then split in two. A blinding nova of cascading debris blossomed, scattering like embers across the dark. Reyes collapsed into her chair on the Sentinel's deck, adrenaline and relief mingling in her veins. Far's voice crackled in her ear. "We've confirmed detonation. No life signs from the Gauntlet. Debris field suggests total destruction." She exhaled hard, set course for extraction. "Bring everyone home." Her hands trembled as she removed her helmet, sweat beading along her brow. Kano stepped beside her, voice hoarse but triumphant. "You did it, Commander. We did it." Reyes managed a weary smile. "We all did." She pressed a command. On the holoscreen, a grainy image emerged, the drifting hulk of the first moonship caught in the blast's wake. Now a silent shell, a battered Omega shuttle, faltering but intact, approached. Inside, the boarding party silhouettes could be made out at the viewport alive. "Welcome back," Reyes whispered as the shuttle docked and airlock hissed open. One by one, her crew disembarked, faces streaked with soot and relief. Their cheers were muffled behind helmets and gear, but in their eyes blazed the same defiance that had spurred her to this moment. Above them, the void was silent once more. The Draken Syndicate's ultimate weapon was no more. Yet as Reyes surveyed the weary faces of her people, she knew this victory was only the beginning. War in the void would always be unpredictable phases of triumph followed by shadows of doubt. But tonight, at least, Earth's defense stood unbroken. And from the wreckage of a moonship to the cratered hulk of a pirate titan, the galaxy would learn that one shot might nearly break them. But humanity would always find a way to strike back. Silence reigned among the drifting wreckage of the Peril Sector. The once mighty Crimson Gauntlet lay shattered, its hull mangled into jagged shards that glittered like malevolent stars. Against the void, the felled moonships, torn open by the cannon's own backlash, floated as empty husks, ghosts of a threat now vanquished. On the bridge of the Aegis Sentinel, Commander Alina Reyes watched the tactical display with weary satisfaction. Captain Far stood beside her, arms folded, as debris fields scrolled past sensors, each cluster a testament to the night's fury. Below them, the boarding party debriefed in the ready room, stripped of their combat gear and staring at spilled rations and cracked data pads, a ritual of return after hellish missions. Reyes keyed the comm. "All hands, this is Commander Reyes. The operation has succeeded. Extract all teams and begin salvage and rescue operations. Report status every 30 minutes. A chorus of acknowledgments crackled back. Relief rippled through every channel. Yet despite the victory, a sobering truth settled over the crew. The Draken Syndicate had shown they possessed weapons of apocalyptic scale, and Earth's defenses, for all their might, had nearly been broken. One, rebuilding the bastions in orbit around Earth, the shattered remains of platform Erebus and Hearthguard were painstakingly collected by salvage drones. Engineers in exosuits patched hull breaches by 3D printing nanocomposite plates. Fusion cores were stabilized or deactivated for safe towing. On the surface below, the Council of Terra convened in New Geneva's subterranean chambers. General Matthias Duvernay addressed delegates from every continental alliance. Holographic projections displayed reconstruction progress. Mobile repair yards assembling new superstructure. Asteroid metal shipments inbound from the asteroid belt. And prototype cannon-proof shield arrays under testing. "We will not cower," Duvernay declared, voice echoing in the vaulted hall. "The Draken Syndicate sought to reduce us to rubble in a single shot. Instead, we will emerge stronger, our orbital bastions more resilient, our sensor nets denser, and our alliances firmer. We shall forge our shields in the fires of this ordeal." Cheering erupted across the chamber, a collective vow of determination. 2. The heroes return weeks later. The Aegis Sentinel limped back to Earth's high orbit, her hull bearing scars. of battle armor plates scorched, sensor rays replaced, and wings of the starboard graviton projector twisted. Docking clamps engaged with platform Olympus, and the boarding party disembarked to a hero's welcome. Reyes joined them on the observation deck, where families, fellow officers, and civilians gathered beneath a canopy of artificial sky. The crowd was hushed at first, honor guard drums tapping out a steady beat, then broke into applause. As each soldier crossed the walkway, Lieutenant Sarah Blitz Nguyen hugged her sister, tears tracing streaks beneath her visor. Geffen Riaz, missing his customary swagger, clasped hands with old friends in the Federation Guard. Chief Engineer Sovic, soot-smudged and weary, exchanged nods with the lead architects who would deconstruct and study the cannon's remains. When Reyes stepped forward, the crowd's ovation swelled into a roar. She saluted, voice firm but gentle. This victory belongs to every hand that tended the hull, each mind that calculated our trajectories, and every soul who refused to yield. We stood at the brink and chose not to fall. Together, we will protect Earth today, tomorrow, always. 3. Echoes in the dark late that evening. Reyes retired to her private quarters, a spare cabin overlooking Earth's cobalt curve. The sight of swirling clouds and distant city lights soothed her battered nerve endings. Yet sleep eluded her. A message flickered on her desk holopad, an encrypted transmission marked Priority Alpha from Admiral Crassus. With a practiced flick, she opened it. Commander, preliminary scans of the Draken weapon debris reveal fragments of rare tachyonic alloys, substances previously thought unobtainable. Further analysis may uncover the Syndicate's supply routes and perhaps a patron behind their armory. Report to Sector Command in 72 hours for a covert operation. Proposal, Crassus out. Reyes' heart quickened. Even in defeat, the Syndicate's fall offered opportunities to chase the tendrils of their black market, to dismantle the network that armed them, and to prevent another such threat. She keyed her log. The cannon is dead, but the war is not over. We must carry our victory beyond the vacuum of this battle, into the hearts of those who would trade in fear. For if we do not hunt the source, this silence in the void will only be the calm before the next storm. 4. A new dawn at dawn. Earth Command authorized the establishment of the Vanguard Initiative, a covert corps of intelligence officers, strike teams, and salvage engineers dedicated to rooting out advanced weapons proliferation across human space. The Aegis Sentinel, repaired and upgraded, was designated the initiative's flagship, with Commander Reyes as its first mission chief on the deck of Olympus. As the dual suns of Terra and Luna rose in tandem, Reyes addressed this new team. Behind her, the crest of the initiative gleamed, a phoenix rising over a globe. Today we launch not only a ship, but a promise, she declared. A promise that no shadow will linger unchallenged, that every dark secret will be brought into light, and that Earth's peace will be defended with vigilance and resolve. We carry our scars as reminders and our victory as a beacon. The crew saluted, voices clear. For Earth, below them, the planet rotated in serene majesty, its surface healing, its people hopeful, and in the silent cradle of space, the Aegis Sentinel primed her thrusters, ready to sail once more into the unknown. Guardians of a world that had stared into the abyss and refused to blink,